Have you noticed relationships don't fail because people don't care? They fail because of demand, control, and unmet expectations. Relationships don't grow that way. They grow through the attitude we bring, the value we offer, and the kind of person we choose to be in the presence of others. We were taught that closeness comes from being fulfilled by another. That connection is measured by how well someone meets our hopes, our standards, our unspoken lists. And without realizing it, we began carrying invisible ledgers into our relationships, keeping score, tallying effort, weighing fairness. We didn't call it demand. We called it need. We didn't call it control. We called it concern. And yet something fragile began to happen. The warmth faded. The ease disappeared. Conversations became careful. Affection began to feel conditional. And instead of asking, "How can I contribute?" we started asking, "Why am I not getting more?" You see, expectation has a peculiar way of dressing itself as love. It sounds reasonable. It feels justified. It even seems mature. But beneath it lies pressure, and pressure is never an invitation. Pressure is a weight. People do not open under weight. They withdraw. Think of the relationships in your life that feel effortless, the ones where conversation flows, where silence feels safe, where you don't feel measured. Those connections were not built on demand. They were built on presence, on generosity of spirit, on a quiet willingness to give without calculating the return. This is not a speech about sacrifice or losing yourself. It is about something far more powerful, who you become when service replaces expectation. Because when service enters a relationship, something extraordinary happens. Defenses soften, trust takes root, respect grows naturally without being requested. And suddenly, connection is no longer something you chase, it is something that forms around you. Think for a moment about the rooms you enter each day. Not the rooms made of walls, but the rooms made of people. Every conversation, every shared silence, every exchange carries something with it. And whether we realize it or not, we bring something into those spaces long before a word is spoken. Sometimes we bring openness, sometimes we bring tension, sometimes we bring generosity, and sometimes we bring expectation, hoping it will quietly be met. But here is something worth considering. Relationships respond less to what we want and more to what we offer. They respond to tone, to intention, to the unseen posture we carry toward others. When we arrive needing, connection tightens. When we arrive offering, connection eases. This is not about effort or performance. It is about orientation, about choosing again and again to meet others not with a demand for fulfillment, but with a willingness to contribute something steady and sincere. Because service changes the atmosphere. It removes the weight. It allows people to stand as they are, not as we wish them to be. And in that space, trust finds room to grow. Nothing dramatic needs to be forced. Nothing needs to be fixed. Something simply needs to be understood. When service replaces expectation, relationships stop feeling fragile. They begin to feel real. And once that shift occurs, the way you experience connection is never quite the same again. And yet, even with the best intentions, something often slips in unnoticed. Not loudly, not aggressively. It settles into our thoughts, shapes our reactions, and begins to influence how we look at the people closest to us. We rarely name it, we rarely question it, but over time, it starts to color everything. Because expectation does not announce itself as a problem, it presents itself as something sensible, something earned, something deserved, and that is why it has such power. Why expectation silently damages relationships. Expectation changes how we listen. We stop hearing the person in front of us and start listening for confirmation. We listen for compliance. We listen for proof that our inner script is being followed. And when it isn't, disappointment enters, not because something was taken away, but because something imagined was not delivered. This is where the damage begins. Expectation creates a comparison between what is and what should be, and that comparison is always unfair because it takes place in private. The other person never agreed to the terms. They were never handed the rule book, yet they are held accountable for failing to meet it. When expectation becomes the standard, appreciation quietly exits the room. Small gestures lose their meaning because they are no longer seen as gifts. They are seen as obligations. Effort becomes invisible because it is assumed. And when effort is assumed, it is no longer felt. It is merely measured. Expectation also introduces tension into moments that should be simple. A conversation is no longer just a conversation. It carries weight. A decision is no longer just a decision. It becomes a test, and people can feel when they are being tested, even if nothing is said aloud. Human beings respond to freedom, not pressure. They respond to acceptance, not evaluation. Expectation, when left unchecked, communicates a subtle message. You are not enough as you are. You must adjust to remain valued. And once that message settles in, trust begins to thin. People become guarded. They give less of themselves, not out of resistance, but out of self-protection. Expectation often comes from caring, from wanting closeness, from longing for connection. Yet the very thing meant to bring people closer ends up creating distance. Because connection cannot be demanded, it can only be invited. The more we expect from others, the more we unconsciously ask them to perform rather than to be. And when people feel they must perform, authenticity disappears. What remains is politeness, caution, and emotional restraint. Relationships do not break in moments of conflict alone. They weaken in moments of unmet expectation that are never spoken, never examined, and never released. Expectation does not shout, it whispers, and by the time its voice is heard, the room already feels colder. How service creates respect and trust. Service begins with a simple inner decision. I will contribute before I calculate, and that decision changes the entire atmosphere between two people. When service becomes the posture we carry, pressure dissolves. The other person is no longer standing beneath a spotlight. They are no longer being measured against a silent standard. Instead, they are met with presence, and presence is rare. Presence tells a person, you are safe here. Respect grows in that environment, not the kind of respect that demands recognition, but the kind that forms naturally when someone feels valued without conditions. When people sense they are not being used as a means to an end, they relax. And when they relax, they reveal who they truly are. Service does not say, I will give if you give first. It says, I give because this is who I choose to be. That distinction matters. Because trust is never built through negotiation. It is built through consistency, through repeated moments where someone realizes they are not being cornered, rushed, or subtly managed. Trust grows when actions are offered freely, without the shadow of expectation following behind them. Service also removes defensiveness from conversation. When someone knows you are not trying to control the outcome, they listen differently. They speak more honestly. They are less afraid of disagreement because disagreement no longer feels like a threat to belonging. This is why service strengthens connection without effort. It allows space, and space allows sincerity. There is also dignity in service, not submission, not self-erasure, but dignity, because service chosen freely is an expression of strength. It says, I am secure enough to give without fear of loss. And people feel that strength. They respect it instinctively. In relationships where service is present, appreciation flows naturally, not because it is requested, but because it is felt. People respond to what touches them, and nothing touches the human spirit more deeply than being treated as a person, not a project. Service does not guarantee perfection. It does not prevent misunderstanding, but it creates a foundation where repair is possible, where mistakes are not fatal, where trust, once shaken, can be rebuilt. Because service communicates one enduring message: I am here with you, not over you. And in that message, respect takes root. The law of cause and effect in human connection. What we bring into a connection tends to return to us, sometimes slowly, sometimes in unexpected ways, but almost always with remarkable accuracy. This is not philosophy for the sake of thought. It is observation. It is something you have already witnessed, whether you named it or not. When pressure enters a relationship, resistance follows. When patience enters, openness appears. When generosity is offered, warmth often returns. This is not coincidence. It is cause and effect at the human level. Expectation is a cause that produces distance. Service is a cause that produces connection, not because people are obligated to respond, but because human nature responds to how it is treated. We often believe relationships are shaped by the behavior of others, but if you watch closely, you will see that relationships are shaped first by the tone we introduce. The emotional temperature we carry becomes the climate others feel. If we arrive guarded, others sense caution. If we arrive demanding, others feel constrained. If we arrive with quiet goodwill, something softens. This law does not work instantly, and that is where many abandon it. They give once, perhaps twice, then wait for immediate return. But cause and effect in human connection does not operate on a schedule. It unfolds through consistency. Service practiced once is kindness. Service practiced steadily becomes character, and character has a way of influencing rooms without saying a word. We teach people how to treat us by how we treat them. When expectation becomes our language, we normalize tension. When service becomes our standard, we normalize respect. People rise or withdraw to meet the tone set before them. This does not mean others will always respond as we hope. Human beings are complex. But it does mean that whatever returns to us is often a reflection of what has been consistently offered. When relationships feel strained, it is worth asking, not with blame, but with honesty, what have I been placing at the center of this connection? Cause and effect does not punish. It reveals, and once revealed, it gives us something powerful: choice. We can continue repeating the same cause and expect a different result. Or we can quietly adjust what we bring and allow the relationship to respond in kind. Why relationship mirror? Who we are being. Relationships are often treated as something happening to us, as though they exist outside our influence, shaped only by circumstance and the temperament of others. But if we observe closely, we begin to notice a quieter truth. Relationships respond less to what we say and more to who we are being. Long before words are exchanged, a posture is felt. Are we entering with openness or with guarded hope? With curiosity or with conclusion? With generosity of spirit or with silent requirement? People sense these things without needing to name them. They feel them in tone, in timing, in presence. And over time, relationships begin to mirror that inner stance. When we carry frustration, even politely, the relationship tightens. When we carry impatience beneath calm words, the connection becomes hurried. When we carry expectation, the relationship reflects strain, not immediately, not dramatically, but steadily. This is not because others are deliberately responding in kind. It is because human interaction is reciprocal by nature. We adjust to what we feel. We reflect what we experience. A person who feels trusted begins to act with care. A person who feels measured begins to withdraw. A person who feels served begins to consider giving in return. In this way, relationships become a kind of mirror, not of our intentions, but of our inner orientation. This can be uncomfortable to recognize, because it removes the comfort of placing responsibility elsewhere. Yet it is also empowering, because it means change does not require waiting. It begins the moment we choose to show up differently. We often attempt to improve relationships by changing our words, but relationships shift more reliably when we change our presence, when we move from needing to offering, from expecting to contributing. When service becomes part of who we are being, the mirror changes. Suddenly, conversations feel lighter, not because problems vanish, but because resistance lessens. Trust feels less fragile, respect feels less forced, and what once felt heavy begins to feel workable. This is not about perfection, it is about alignment. When who we are being matches the kind of connection we desire, relationships begin to reflect that alignment back to us, quietly, naturally, without demand. How connection improves when service becomes a standard. There is a difference between an occasional act of kindness and a standard by which one lives. Kindness offered now and then is noticed. Service adopted as a standard is felt, and what is felt consistently becomes the foundation of connection. When service becomes the standard, relationships stop feeling fragile. They no longer depend on mood or circumstance to remain intact. There is a steadiness present, a sense that the connection is not being negotiated moment by moment. Service as a standard removes the question, "Am I doing enough?" because the focus has shifted. The measure is no longer what is received, but the quality of what is offered. And when that shift occurs, energy returns to the relationship. Tension releases. Interactions become simpler. People begin to feel met rather than managed. In relationships shaped by service, communication improves without force. Words are chosen with care, not because of fear, but because of regard. Listening deepens, not as a technique, but as a natural response to mutual respect. Service also creates consistency, and consistency is what allows trust to mature. Not the kind of trust built on promises, but the kind built on repeated experience. When someone knows they will not be pressured or cornered, they show up more fully, they speak more freely, they stay. When service is the standard, appreciation returns to the relationship, not as flattery, but as recognition. Effort is seen again, presence is valued, and what was once taken for granted becomes meaningful. This does not mean imbalance. True service includes self-respect. It is not about giving to exhaustion or ignoring one's own needs. It is about offering from a place of wholeness, not from fear of loss. Relationships thrive in that environment because service, when chosen freely, creates a cycle. Giving invites trust. Trust invites openness. Openness invites connection, and connection renews the desire to give. No demand is required. No expectation is enforced. The relationship becomes a place of mutual regard rather than mutual accounting, and in that space, something lasting is built. In the end, relationships do not ask us to be perfect. They ask us to be present. They do not deepen because we demand more, but because we become more patient, more attentive, more willing to serve without keeping score. When expectation loosens its grip, connection can breathe. When service becomes a way of being, respect follows without being asked. You do not strengthen a relationship by pulling on it. You strengthen it by standing steady within it. So as you leave this thought with you, remember this. Every interaction is an opportunity, not to receive, but to contribute, not to control, but to care. And when service replaces expectation, relationships do more than survive. They flourish.